Palestine, the heart of the ancient world, lies in the southwest of Asia on the southern part of the Mediterranean eastern coast. Villages, cities, and little towns within the West Bank and Gaza Strip have a unique history and are beautifully located. Despite this beauty, there is a sad reality of ongoing conflict between Palestine and Israel, which makes life hard for citizens. The Palestinian territories are divided into the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. The Gaza Strip is administered by the Palestinian National Authority and Hamas, while its borders are controlled by Israel. The West Bank is also administered in some places by the Palestinian National Authority, while others are controlled by Israel. Palestine's geographic and political division is mostly the result of the still ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Having erupted as a series of wars in 1948, this conflict is driven by the two sides competing claims to the land. In 1948, after Israel's declaration of independence, over 750,000 Palestinians left the occupied territories and became refugees. Today, the number of Palestinian refugees has increased to 5 million, as estimated by the UNRWA. More than 1.5 million Palestinian refugees live in 58 recognized Palestinian refugee camps in Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. A large portion of Palestinians living outside their region are located around the world. This mass dispersion is known as the Palestinian diaspora. Of Palestinians living in the European Union, Germany's capital of Berlin has the largest community, which is about 30,000. A lot of Palestinians living in Berlin, such as Yunus, Beatrice, and Qasim, use German media as their main source of information about Palestine. But how does it feel to read about their own story, the narrative of their parents and grandparents through the German media?
When it comes to get informed about Palestine, I, first of all, use my mobile phone. Well, I know I must pay attention because one should take German media sources about Palestine with a grain of salt. They are namely one-sided. What is missing in the German media is the Palestinian side.
It's because of the lack of information. I think that the population in Germany is not well informed about the situation in Palestine. My friends, for example, hardly know what's happening there and why it is happening.
So it's easier just to support Israel, whatever they do, than really talking about the trauma of the Holocaust and how come that happened in whole Europe and at all the European anti-Semitism. I used to read much in German because you want to know this society, you want to know how they think, what they think about Palestine and the Palestinians. And it's always, at the beginning, you are really upset. And with the time, you get cynical because it's really like a kind of a pattern which is not really changing.
Do they recognize themselves in what they hear and read?
The main problem when it comes to report the Israel-Palestinian conflict is that each criticism to Israel is considered anti-Semitism. But this is totally false. My criticism to Israel as a country does not mean that I find the whole religious community wrong or that I even hate it. German media seems to have a double morality. They proclaim the importance of human rights, but they give no consideration to the human rights of Palestinians. This makes me, as a German, bring the whole German media into question. Is it really true what they say?
Sometimes, if I'm lucky, people are neutral and say, yes, both sides are suffering, but mostly only Palestinians are portrayed as terrorists. I wish the German media could stay more neutral than they are now.
Where I see myself in German media, I would say I don't see myself at all. It's like the Palestinian is not existing, the Palestinian narrative is not existing in the German media. I wish that actually German journalists just go once to Palestine, see the checkpoints, see the daily torture which the people go through on a daily basis in West Bank. Go to Gaza.
How does the framework of reporting represent them?
Reporting about Palestine is summing up a whole conflict in 20 seconds through which people build their opinion. But it cannot work like this.
We believe that there is a freedom of speech in Germany, but is it true? When there is a demonstration for Palestine in Germany, the media and the journalists are talking only about negative aspects of it. And every time I participate in a demonstration and say something good about Palestinians, I'm directly accused for other things too that are absolutely not right, like being an anti-Semitist, for example. In my opinion, this conflict is often portrayed in the German media as a religious conflict between Jews and Muslims, even when it's not based on religion at all. It has different underlying causes.
But could a journalist find explanations for our interviewers' open questions and statements? We asked Nick Spicer.
Of course there is. It's massive, and it's not just editorial. Of course, German media, I think, as a whole is quite pro-Israel, and Al Jazeera is pro-Palestinian. Al Jazeera was the only broadcaster to have people there because they have a constant commitment to having somebody in Gaza all the time. What it is a question of deployment. When you decide to have reporters in Gaza during Operation Cast Lead, and they're reporting on the phosphorus bombs falling on schools where people are hiding out, then that you're letting the world know about something they're not going to hear from the German media, because the German media has taken the decision not to send anybody there. And it's not well enough to be in the capital of the country that is, essentially colonizing the other country, to be able to talk about the colonized country, or the country that is occupied under international law. It's described as colonized is too strong. And when it comes to Palestine, I think the Germans who are reporting there, mainly in Israel and occasionally making excursions into Palestine, are dealing with the great feeling of guilt over the Second World War and their education in the German education system, starting from primary school, which has drilled home the terribleness of a Holocaust. And that is the starting point for the way Germans work in Palestine and Israel. You can certainly say there's 100 minutes given to the Israeli side and only 20 minutes given to the Palestinian side on the Tagesschau over a month, and that's fine, that's incontestable, but how people actually interpret it, are they skeptical about these stories? That needs to be researched.
Adopting the right frames for covering news about Palestine is no easy job for German media. Due to the lack of journalists in the occupied territories, the time media dedicates to the reports about Gaza and West Bank and the historical background of Germany itself may have an impact on it. According to our Palestinian interviewees, the way German media reports is one-sided. This arouses an image of Palestine in the media they don't agree with.